Okay, this is going to be a reading of Kid Blink and the Newsies. Here's a photograph of the Newsies in New York City. All right, and here's the reading. Kid Blink and the Newsies Bringing Down the Glass. New York City, 1899. This is from the book We Were There Too, Young People in U.S. History by Philip Hoos. William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer were two of the richest and most powerful men in America in 1899. Each owned a giant newspaper in New York City, and both competed to grab readers with sensational headlines and extra editions. They depended on a large network of city children and teenagers to get papers to readers. When the two millionaires tried to gouge the Newsies, that means to take a lot of money, for a few pennies more, it was nearly their downfall. Newsies hollered out the daily headlines from busy street corners and subway entrances, from positions outside the revolving doors of office buildings, and from sidewalks near the lunch counters where secretaries and business people grabbed quick meals. Some newsies stayed on the streets all day long, avoiding school, while others raced to their positions as soon as school was finished. They made their profits by buying papers from the newspaper company and then selling them to readers for a little more, pocketing the difference. They kept about a nickel for every 10 papers they sold. If they didn't sell a paper, then they would take the loss. It was a tough deal, but a straight deal. At least a newsie knew what to expect. The trouble started when Hearst and Pulitzer decided to make up for the slow sales by raising the price that the newsies had to pay for their papers. They didn't figure the boys could do anything about it. They were very wrong. In July of 1899, 300 newsies gathered in City Hall Park and formed their own union. They elected officers and made up committees. They announced that they would refuse to deliver Hearst's New York Journal or Pulitzer's New York World until their buying prices went back to normal. "We're here for our rights and we will die defending them," explained 10-year-old Boots McLean to reporters. The strikes lasted 2 weeks. The newsies demonstrated at the places where delivery carts usually gave them their bundles of papers. They put signs up on nearby lamp posts that read, "Help the newsboys and our cause is just." Their tactics were not gentle. Several hundreds of the boys surrounded the carts and threatened the drivers, who quickly tossed the papers over the side and fled. Mobs of boys threw rocks at the men Hearst and Pulitzer hired to replace them. Soon no one would even pick up the papers for fear of being confronted by angry boys. Police were caught in the middle. The public supported the newsies, but the companies and replacement workers demanded protection, and the boys could almost always outrun the police. The newsboys' strike spread through New Jersey, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. As newspaper sales dropped, Pulitzer and Hearst began to lose big money. Advertisers demanded lower rates because of the strike, but other New York newspapers cheerfully made heroes of the newsie. Pulitzer's assistant sent him a worried message. "The people seem to be against us. They are encouraging the boys and tipping them, and refraining from buying the papers for fear of having them snatched from their hands." One summer night, the Newsies organized a mass rally in Lower Manhattan, and 5,000 boys showed up. A great cheer arose when a leader named Kid Blink vaulted onto the speaker's platform. He raised his hands for silence and scratched his head as something were puzzling him. "I'm trying to figure it out," he said, "how 10 cents on 100 papers could mean more to a millionaire than it does to Newsboy, and I can't see it." The Newsies vowed to continue the strike until they brought Pulitzer and Hearst to their knees. When sales dropped by two-thirds, Hearst and Pulitzer gave up. They offered a deal that kept their prices the same, but let the newsies return unsold papers and get their money back. In the end, it meant more money than before. The newsies took it, disbanded their union, and went back to selling papers.